everyone wants to know about energetic boob jobs because you talk about reverse aging, how aging is just a concept, how you can literally change your body by doing this work, and you've given yourself an energetic boob job. Your boobs are real, but they look fake. And I felt them, and I've had fake boobs. I know what they feel like. Yours are 100% real, but they look fake, and they look so good. They're like up, they're just completely lifted up to the sky. You have amazing cleavage. How does one get an energetic boob job? If you could guarantee making your dream life your reality, what would that be worth to you? Welcome to the Manifestation Babe podcast, where we take topics like manifestation, the universal laws, quantum physics, personal growth, and spirituality, and turn them into simple, powerful, practical steps to apply in your life. I'm Catherine Zinkina, manifestation expert, master mindset coach, and multiple seven-figure entrepreneur who has generated over $25 million in just 7 years. I am obsessed with helping you achieve everything that you once thought was impossible. There is no such thing as an unrealistic dream. And with the tools that I give you, don't be surprised when every area of your life receives a massive up-level. Are you ready? Let's manifest. Hello, my beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Manifestation Babe podcast. We are back for part 2 of the Asking a Psychic Medium your juiciest down the rabbit hole questions with the amazing intuitive Allie Ninfo. If you didn't yet listen to part 1 of this episode, I'm not going to intro this one too much, so we can just dive right in. But if you didn't yet listen to part 1 of this episode, definitely go back to part 1, because otherwise you're going to be left really, really confused with no context, no introduction, and we're going to be going straight into wherever we left off last time in the last episode. So definitely go back to part 1 so that you can be caught up to speed. Okay, for those of you who are waiting on part 2, I'm not going to hold you for long as promised. Let's just dive straight into the episode. Okay, I want to talk about, a lot of people are super into plant medicine nowadays. Okay, people get into ayahuasca, mushrooms, insert whatever plant medicine here. And I've definitely done I almost said fair share, but I really haven't done that much.
Yeah.
And so I feel like for many people, what appeals to me about plant medicine is that it's such an incredible way to bypass the ego, in the sense of like, I can go straight to the spirit world, gather information, gather what my blockages are, see myself at my highest potential. Like, I had incredible experiences when I did ayahuasca. I literally asked, what is my highest purpose? It showed me. I rebranded my whole website off of ayahuasca, and my business like took off from that point. It literally showed me so many cool moments that I had, clarity around my relationship, my husband. But I'm curious, because I have developed a slightly different opinion since I've done plant medicine that I haven't updated on my podcast. And we talked about this at dinner, and I said, Allie, I feel like I need to share my new perspective that I've learned since I started working with my shaman, because I did plant medicine before I started working with him. He's taught me a lot about like the reality of plant medicine, and like important things to keep in mind. And ever since then, I stopped recommending it. And I want to share the reason why. And I was telling you my hesitation in doing that and doing like my official update is that I don't want to give people like the problem without giving them a solution. So I don't want to tell them what could go wrong and then be like, but guys, I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know. My shaman has like a 3-year long wait list, and he recently closed it, and not everyone can just go work with him because he has the hierarchy to help people with this, but not everyone else does. And so then you're like, well, Catherine, just send them to me, because I can literally help people with this. So what is your take on plant medicine and why?
Great question.
Go off.
I'm going to go off. Okay. So a few different takes. One, the first one, the easier one to kind of understand, wrap your head around. I have this thing in me of I need to be self-sufficient. I do not want to rely on anything outside of me to access something or feel better. I don't want to rely on alcohol to calm down. I don't want to rely on a Xanax to not have a panic attack. I don't want to rely on me having to go to someone's house to sleep over because I'm scared. You know what I mean? I want to be able, a goal of mine, a soul mastery that I really desire to have, and it's not fully mastered yet by any means, but it's something that I really desire to keep cultivating, is an emotional mastery of like being able to, if I'm having a panic attack, get out of it in 0.1 seconds. Just this thing of emotional mastery. Or also, I need my intuition every day, all the time. I can't rely on a plant medicine experience to access that or to open up and lower the veil.
Wait until that.
Yes. Yeah. And what happens with that is, yes, you see things, but then there is a lack of, maybe not for you, someone who knows the right tools to use and has the right resources of reprogramming your brain, but a lot of people have an experience, but then they go home, they're like, okay, now what? And they don't have the tools to reprogram their brain. So that's my first thing is relying on anything outside of you. To me, it's not my vibe. I like to teach. You can have that same experience without it. Like, people tell me what they see during it, and I'm like, oh yeah, like I see that all the time.
My normal life.
It's my normal life. I see demons crawling on the ceiling. And, you know what I mean? Like, or I see, people go to like this blue realm, and I'm like, oh, I've seen that.
Oh, the blue realm,
where Orion goes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm not special. Anyone can learn to see that themselves with the right tools. That's my first thing. The next thing is when we go to those things, when we take any kind of substance, alcohol, drugs, but also plant medicine, our energy gets burst the fuck open. Our energy is amongst all the dimensions, all the realms you can possibly think of. Realm 2 being one of them. We are in realm 3. Realm 2 is where like darker, heavier energies. Is that
like third dimension, second dimension kind of vibes? Like where does the 3 and 2 come from?
Kind of. That's a great question. I've just channeled it from source. Like, so when I see realm 2, it is like, it's hell doesn't exist. It's not hell, but it's like where
it's a lower
darker
frequency.
Entities live. Souls aren't there. It's like darker entities that like to get on you, suck your light, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Realm 4 is where source is. We're in realm 3.
Okay.
So when we are doing this, we're blasting our energy open. Now, what happens with that is if we don't have dark force mastery and we don't know how to clear ourselves of these other energies, even just other people's energy that you're now taking on, it affects us 92%. 92% of your life and your day, between 92 and 97%, is not your own. When you are not clearing off these energies, other people's energy, you are taking on 92 to 97% of other people's thoughts and energy and these dark things. And people leading these ceremonies will say they have dark force mastery, but the sage and the Palo Santo ain't working. The dark forces are going to smell it. They're going to be like, oh, smells a little weird, but like, you're funny that you thought that was going to clear me.
Yeah.
And then they take advantage of the humans.
Yes.
And now why we should care about having those things on us is they can create massive mental illness, massive physical illness. They can fuck with your career. They can fuck with your relationships. Have you ever found yourself, maybe not you, but like listening, have you ever found yourself responding to your partner and you just have this rage and you don't even know fucking why?
Mm-hmm.
Probably a dark force. Have you ever found yourself like just in your career and it's just like, it almost feels like someone has a fucking curse on you?
Yeah.
Probably a dark force.
Yeah.
People come to me, they think they're bipolar. I go, no, you're not. You have a fucking demon in your brain. I clear it out. They're fine. I kid you not. People who have gone through like a program of mine where I like do this work in it, offer antidepressant medicine. Her name is Michaela. Shout out to Michaela if you're listening. In 3 months, and she was on it for 10 years and in therapy for 10 years trying to figure out her shit because she got to clear herself. These things cause massive mental illness. You have them. And even if you think, oh, I just won't think about it, they're there whether you realize it or not. Ignorance is maybe not bliss with this, because even if you say, oh no, I have angels around me, I have light. Angels want you to learn lessons. Angels want you to master your mastery.
Dark
forces. Yeah. Your higher self also wants you to gain a grip on your reality. It also wants you to learn lessons. They won't protect you from this stuff because higher self sees things as a very different perspective.
Well, it's not
and
seeing
lens.
it as a bad thing.
It doesn't
it's
see it
just
as a
seeing
bad
it as
thing.
a lesson. That makes sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you can say you have all the protection you want, but again, Source and angels have their hands out of our lives anyway, because Source sees everything as like the human has the power. And so our higher self will let these things in so we can get lessons. And so we can eventually, over the years, over the lifetimes, learn about this stuff and take our power back. It's programmed into movies, into media, into music. It's everywhere. So whether you think you have it on you or not, you probably do. If you're listening to this podcast, you're definitely a light being. If you're a light being, you definitely have them on you, and they're definitely taking over your brain.
Like moths to a flame.
Yep, like moths to a flame.
I've noticed that the more I've developed the more I've gone down the rabbit hole of spirituality, the more that I have developed my spiritual gifts, especially in the beginning, not so much now, but in the beginning, weird shit happened.
Yeah.
Like I could see things.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to fight things off. And at the time I had nobody teaching me. Like I intuitively had what you would call a demon come and try to take over me, like wanted to come down my throat. And I actually talk about this in a podcast episode. If you're an OG, it's like years ago that I recorded this, so you probably heard it. If not, you're gonna have to scroll for a little while. But I had this experience, and intuitively, I only had my intuition to work with. I just started screaming at the top of my lungs, just like very I took on a very commanding like presence, because we are the most powerful. And I just started chanting, I am love. I am love, over and over and over again. And I noticed that at first it got stronger. And it started changing my voice. Like I can't even make that sound. That's how I know this is real. My voice doesn't go that low. It's like, I am love. Like I can't even do it. And then I just persisted with it, and eventually, and then I saw, like, I send it to the light, to like, I literally called on Jesus at one point. Like I just was calling on like the most powerful, like spiritual beings I, know to exist, the ascended masters and things like that, and God and source and whatever. And then went away, and that was crazy. That was nuts. It doesn't happen as often anymore. In fact, it hasn't happened in a while. But I just know that as a light being, as you open yourself up to more things, you also need to understand that you have to protect yourself as well. That there is such thing as dark forces. I used to be in the line of thinking that it's like, no, there's no such thing as evil, or no such thing as dark forces. And as I started working with like a very powerful shaman, he's like, no, bitch. There are dark forces, and spiritual warfare is real. Yeah. But they don't have the power that light beings do. No. Only when you forget about your own power do they have the power to then mess with you. Yes. Okay. I want to share oh, sorry. I just cut you off.
No, I was just going to say, and knowledge is power with that stuff. Yeah. Like the more people think, oh, if I don't listen, but the more you know, the more you can clear them off. And what takes these people like 6 months to put a ritual onto you can take you 2 seconds to fucking clear. They have no power over you.
Oh my God. Okay. We need to talk about that. First, I just want to share.
Yeah, I want you to share your ayahuasca.
Okay. So first of all, I've been to round 2 instantly. Yeah. Instantaneous round 2. If you've listened to my ayahuasca episodes, anyone who's listening who's gone through those episodes, my very first experience was instant hell, like dark place. What is going on? I remember coming out of that ceremony, and everyone's like, and it ended, thank God it ended well, because otherwise I wouldn't have shown up the next day to do more. Yeah. And everyone's like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? I literally went to hell. That was
not what I saw.
Nuts, right? Nuts. And I have this experience where I shared with you about like the grandfather spirit, who was like this light being that was with me. And then he like looked at Mother Ayahuasca. Mother Ayahuasca glared at me back and said, bring her when she's ready. Not saying Mother Ayahuasca is bad, but it just felt like a stark difference where I'm like, I feel like I'm about to go through the fucking ringer. I knew as soon as I saw that scene that this journey was about to like,
this is not going to be a fun time.
This is not just going to be like seeing like fractals and images. Like I'm about to have my shit handed to me. Yeah. And the second day was a beautiful experience. And over time, it was so interesting. In the very first ceremony, I heard ayahuasca say, "I'm not your medicine." And I don't remember, I'm pretty sure I did share this in those episodes. "I'm not your medicine. And your medicine is actually mushrooms and breath work." And when we talked at dinner, I was saying how I'm pretty sure she was talking about like not psychedelic mushrooms, but just like medicinal mushrooms, like adaptogenic mushrooms, because I was really into them at that point. And she was kind of like saying, "This is your vibe, replace coffee with it for like a year." She didn't give me a timeline, but I intuitively picked up a year. And then she said breath work. And like, that's what I got from that whole experience that is with me to this day, is like breath work is my jam. Like I get into those intuitive realms, the spirit realm, so easily with breath work. I get so many intuitive downloads through breath work. Like it's my like way of connecting. And so long story short, when I met my shaman, he was like, "Oh girl, like we need to like heal a couple things from your ayahuasca experience." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And so what he taught me was that when you ingest a plant, and he says he says it's such a pity that we even call it psychedelics, because it's actually flowers of the gods. And it just felt like such a beautiful way to label these
I like that better.
ingestibles. It just brings such a beauty and respect to them. Flowers of the gods. So incredible. And that just goes to show you, like, that's how the indigenous use them. Like the indigenous know what the fuck to do with them. And so when you're doing it, like not recreationally, but just with people who have more of a recreational like flair to how they're doing it, and they're just like hosting retreats and just whatever, he says that when you ingest them, you get blown into bigger numbers than I can even say.
Yeah.
Like, let's just say 1 billion pieces. You get blown into 1 billion pieces. You are literally like particles, like subatomic particles of yourself are then blown across the entire universe, through every single dimension, through every single parallel reality, through every single universe, because we live in a multiverse. And that makes sense, because when you have that experience, and I can speak from experience here, like, and you can speak from like the spirit realm, it's just like you're accessing everything all at once. So in order for you to access everything at once, your energy has to be in every place at once.
Yep.
And so he says, that's fine and dandy, because the facilitator or shaman or whatever you want to call them, if they have the level of hierarchy, which they need to have in order to lead these ceremonies, they can find all of these pieces and help you bring yourself back. So they can help you integrate before you essentially wake up from the medicine.
Yes.
And he says what ends up happening is that people leave pieces of themselves behind. So you have literal like particles of yourself that are left behind in some other dimension. And let me just tell you, this is the trippiest thing in the world. I now know what it feels like to be in another dimension. And it's so fucking weird and almost like in a way like scary, because you feel like home is so far away. Like when I was in another dimension, I remember trying to make sense of it, because I was so scared that I was like, "Catherine, just remember you're in Costa Rica right now and you live in Los Angeles." And then I was like, why does it feel like it's 1,000,000 light years away? Like, why does the concept of Costa Rica, of where I am doing this right now, feel so fucking far away? Like I'll never reach it. And then I was like, oh, I'm in a different dimension. That's why.
That's exactly why.
And so he says the proper integrator, the proper facilitator, the proper shaman is trained in this. They have the spiritual hierarchy to be able to do that. They can literally pinpoint that. And that's what he helped me do, is he helped me reintegrate. But he says that most people go about this doing it with someone who doesn't have that hierarchy. And so my fear in all this was like, well, how am I supposed to know if they have the hierarchy? There's no way of telling. Like they can say whatever they want. And so I remember making this decision mainly from like ayahuasca herself telling her like, yo, like I'm not really your medicine
for you. Yeah.
I had a session, my very first call with my shaman. And when he was reading into like my soul contract, He was like, you have done so much goddamn flowers of the gods to the point where you're at this level where you've mastered them. Not like from an ego sense.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking from an ego sense because
Souls
I felt like
things.
I felt like I wasn't a master of it at all when I was doing it. But
Yes.
he says, like, if you continue to do it in this lifetime, you're actually going to spiritually regress, which matched up exactly to what ayahuasca was telling me. But then when I shared it with one of the facilitators at this retreat center, he said, ayahuasca would never say that. She would never tell you that. And so it made me get really confused, but thank God I kept listening to my own intuition where I was like, no, I'm just going to go with like what I'm feeling, what I'm vibing with. Like, I'm just going to drink less and less. That's what I ended up doing.
Yes.
I drank less and less to where the fourth night I could just like, I literally was just in the energy of it. I didn't actually drink the cup. Anyway, from that point, people ask me all the time, are you going to do it again? And I'm like, honestly, I'm not feeling guided towards it. And then I started telling people like what my shaman was sharing with me. And then I was telling this to you at dinner. And I was like, I haven't felt ready to share this perspective on my podcast because I've led so many people to the plant medicine world through my episodes that I've shared. And now I learned like, wait a second, this can be like in many ways harmful if you do it with someone who doesn't know what they're doing. You don't know how to clear those dark forces and reintegrate yourself. And he said that if you leave pieces of yourself behind, you're fine for now. But in like 10, 20, 30 years, it can manifest, like you said, as mental illness. It can manifest as cancer. It can manifest as just your life going to shit. And so I'm like, Allie, I don't have a solution for people. So I've never really shared this perspective before. And you were like, Catherine, I have a solution. So what's the solution, Allie?
I have a solution. What's great is that you can actually learn to recover your energy yourself. You can learn to clear dark forces yourself. You can learn how to be like your own energetic healer. Whether you want to do it for other people or whether you just want to do it for yourself, anyone should learn it to do it for at least themselves. All energy work is guiding light into cells. And so you can learn how to retrieve your own soul, retrieve your own energy, retrieve all the missing parts of your chakras. You can learn how to clear off these entities and rituals and groups of people targeting shit at you. You can learn how to clear these things off yourself, just knowing how. And I have a course called Fuck Dark Forces.
I literally saw it on your website today. Like, this is so on brand. Like, it wasn't there a couple days ago, but today it's here. And I'm so glad you have that because I feel like it's such a valuable life skill, regardless of plant medicine or not. Just because you said this thing at dinner all about rituals. What the fuck is that? Like, and then one of the questions I have here is like, are curses, hexes, like those things real? And how do we get rid of them? And like, what are rituals?
Okay, so rituals are... Now, before I go into this, just because we wouldn't do something harmful to people doesn't mean there's not people out there who won't.
Right.
So this can sometimes be a like mind-blowing, like hard concept to wrap our minds around because anyone listening to this podcast obviously has great intentions for the world. That doesn't mean that everyone does though. So there are people who are so hungry for power, for money, for fame. They're so deeply insecure. And a lot of times, Source does not have the, they don't have the contract through Source to be able to get the money, get the fame, get the whatever, right? Most people aren't supposed to even be famous in Hollywood. That's not part of their Source soul contract. So if they can't get it through Source and they don't have the ability to create and manifest like, you do, then they get it through disconnecting from Source, which is essentially selling their soul. Now, disconnecting from Source is not being atheist or just not believing. That's very different. That has no like soul karma. They have to purposely disconnect from Source, purposely. And how they do that.
Is that an actual contract they sign? Is that a ritual? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's through a sacrifice, which then leads me into rituals. So it's through a sacrifice.
Ooh.
They sacrifice a loved one. They sacrifice an animal. They sacrifice babies. I mean, it's wild.
And this is what happens in Hollywood?
This is what happens in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've heard it. I have clients who have like got out of Hollywood and I've heard about it firsthand. When I lived there, I had friends in it. I heard about it firsthand through them. It is, a girl came up to my friend Nikki at a party one time. I won't say her name, but you would know her name. I'll tell you offline. And she is crying hysterically. And my friend's like, what's wrong? I wasn't there, but he told me this. He was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I just had to kill a goat to be in my next movie. And so these people, and now it's not always their fault. Like if you get them young, if I'm 14 and I want to be on Disney Channel, someone comes up to me, because I wanted to be on Disney Channel when I was 14. I want to be fucking Hannah Montana.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Like, who doesn't? So did I. Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Someone comes up to me and they're like, hey, I can make you a famous Disney Channel star. You can have a lot of fame. You can get famous. You can then be a singer later in your life. You can then be a pop star. All you have to do is come to this meeting and watch me kill a chicken or watch like a goat get killed for you. I'm going to be like, that's fucking weird, but I'm 14. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I want to be Hannah Montana. Sure. You know, so because you don't know this knowledge. So a lot of people, who got into it young, they weren't really knowing what they were doing, and now they're just in it, and now it's very hard to get out. Then there are other people who know exactly what they're doing and have these sacrifices. Now, there are a whole group of different cults leading these people and enticing these people to do this. They have friends, they have friends, they have friends. Now, those friends of their friends, maybe they're not so high up in Hollywood, but maybe it's their job, just like us, they're psychic. They can sense you and me as lights. They can sense anyone out there who's a light, right? And who's helping the world in some way, shape, or form. They don't know who it is. Maybe they don't know, oh, Catherine Zankina or Allie Ninfo, but they can sense our energy, right? Maybe they do know us. Who knows? God, I don't know. I don't want to know. But they can sense our energy.
Yeah.
So what happens there is it takes about 6 months to create a ritual. During a full moon, they go out into the middle of the woods, do this whole like ritual situation, and they direct. A ritual is like an energy and intent directed towards you. And it's a negative energy. Well, it can be positive or negative, but this one is obviously a negative energy and intent directed toward the person. So they can sense a light being just like how we can sense them. And so they'll direct it toward us. Now, this shit takes them 6 months to fucking create. And it's so embarrassing. I think of these people as like guys in their mom's basement in their 50s, living with their mom in their underwear, eating Cheetos with cheesy finger hands, like sitting on their couch.
Yeah.
Like, playing video games. That's how I think of them.
How miserable do you have to be?
How miserable do you have to be
in your life?
Yes. And why they're doing it and why there's those lower levels is then they can work to get to the higher levels, be in control of like the Hollywood demons and the Hollywood stuff, and then they make a lot of money. So it's like there's these hierarchies, and so that is essentially a ritual, and they direct this onto you.
Money from your perspective. Mm-hmm. What is money? Because it seems like, the reason why a lot of people do this is for money. Mm-hmm. But if we can just manifest money, why would someone go to those lengths to do something like that?
Yeah, because they don't have the right tools, and maybe they didn't have a soul contract to get that money and fame otherwise. And they don't have the right tools to negotiate the soul or manifest or create it separately.
Okay.
And they are so deeply insecure. They have negative self-image, and they just want fame because they think it's going to validate them and make them feel better.
Okay, speaking of conspiracies, we can do that all day long, but there's an interesting one, which is like, what is a conspiracy that you can think of off the top of your head that actually is a conspiracy? Like, it's such bullshit and so ridiculous that it's like, just clear the record straight.
Oh, like a conspiracy that actually is not real?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know. Is that a hard question? That's hard. I don't know. Do you have one you're thinking of?
That's what I want to know.
It's not round. That's what you're asking.
It's not round.
It's not. I don't see that it's flat or like the sphere. It almost feels more of like
in between.
Like in between.
Like both people are right.
Yeah. It doesn't feel fully either.
Okay.
But it's not what they're saying it is. It's not. Earth does not look how they make it look. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a psychic, medium / intuitive. We're going to call you intuitive because that's what you prefer to be called. Mm-hmm. I want to ask about something, an experience, and I want to see if you can tune into it and just clarify or confirm this.
Yeah.
I was at a crystal shop in Sedona. Mm-hmm. It was like a back end. It was kind of like a bazaar vibe. I don't know where we went, somewhere in Uptown. And they have like a bazaar vibe where it's like little tiny pockets of shops in like this indoor kind of area. Mm-hmm. And I went in there and I just like did not like this fucking store. Yeah. I immediately got a stomach ache while being there. I didn't want to touch anything. Sometimes I'll like pick up crystals or whatever just so I can rotate them, look at them. I dared not to touch any of them.
Yeah.
One of the guys, I didn't like the shopkeepers. It's like these two guys. They come up to me, one of them, And randomly, he just like kind of targets me and just picks up a rose quartz and just says, you can touch this, right? And I go,
Ew.
no. And he's like, and he starts teaching me about crystals and energy. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea what I know about crystals and energy. And he's almost like looking at me. And I think it's because the way I was dressed and like the handbag that I had, that he probably assumed that I was just like totally like not of this
out
vibe.
of touch of this world. Yeah.
Totally out of touch with this world. But what was interesting is like, not only did I get a weird vibe, I almost felt like he wasn't real. Like he wasn't a human. Like he wasn't, there was no soul inside. I didn't talk to a human. I talked to something else. What the fuck was that?
A reptilian. So reptilians can take form as humans. They can put on a human suit. But they're from realm 4. I know it sounds contradicting because sources from realm 4. It's like different sections of realm 4.
Different rooms.
Yeah. Different rooms. And reptilians are, so in Hollywood, when someone sells their soul, something has to take up the body. It's either a demon or reptilian. And you can tell, like, the ones who look a little more reptile-ish or like reptilian. Yeah. The ones who look a little more demonish.
Yeah.
That makes sense. See it.
It makes sense. I've seen that.
You can see it.
Yeah.
So in a place like Sedona, where there is a lot of high frequency vortexes and all of that stuff, there's going to be an equal amount because the world has to be in balance. Just like LA. LA is the highest frequency place and the lowest frequency place at the same fucking time in the world. And so in somewhere like Sedona too, the universe has to be in balance. And because unfortunately, the collective energy in the world is not at a 500 frequency or higher yet, we then are a match to lower frequency energies. So because of that law, for Sedona, with all the high frequency things, there's going to also be the absent of light beings. And they can put on human suits. Like this reptilian, it's just probably acting like a human. But if you don't feel a soul in there, you're probably not fucking wrong. Like there is no soul because it's a reptilian taking up the body.
I'm so glad I didn't touch any of the crystals or necklaces or anything. It just felt off. And like there was a group of us and I was like, how did you feel in that store? And everyone's like, I got the worst stomach ache.
That's how you know it's a reptilian. Like you feel like someone punched you in the stomach and you want to throw up. And when I went to someone's concert, I won't say her name, she came on stage and I watched her cord into everyone and I felt this punch right in my stomach and I watched it. I watched everyone that says like, oh, has so much energy on stage. No, the reptilian is cording into everyone so that it can take the fans' energy. And I cut the cord and I was fine and I cleared myself. But imagine if you don't know how to fucking clear yourself. Now your piece of your energy is with that person from their concert.
How do we protect our kids in these times and everything happening in the world? Do we clear the kids?
We can, but we have to ask their higher self because the kid's higher self might want that thing on them as a lesson to get them where their soul wants to go quicker. So like, I'm glad that no one cleared me when I was younger because I could see these things and it made me really immune to them at a young age. So now I can see them and I'm like, oh, whatever.
So when you see demons crawling on the walls, you're just like, okay.
No,
good night.
It doesn't faze me. I clear them and I'm like, okay.
Everyone have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Oh my gosh. I'm just scrolling through my phone with these massive amounts of questions. Okay. So we've been talking a lot about like, just ask their higher self, blah, blah, blah. For a newbie that wants to start accessing their intuition, what's like the most basic tool? Like someone today, they decide right now as they're listening, they want to use their intuition.
Yeah.
And then I have a really good question to follow this up to.
Okay, love. I have 2 different yes or no tools that I can give them.
Okay.
So yes and no intuitive answers. So number 1, it's important to know that intuition's only as good as the questions you ask. So there's a difference between eating salmon's good for me versus eating salmon today for dinner is good for me, right? Because eating salmon is good for me. Well, what the fuck? Like maybe sometimes yes, maybe sometimes no. Like that answer is going to get so wonky. You want to be so specific. Eating wild caught organic salmon tonight for dinner is good for me. Because even if you say salmon, well, what we talked about this, like the farm salmon isn't good for you.
Yeah.
Wild caught, right?
Fuck farm salmon.
Fuck farm salmon. We need a PSA about don't eat farm salmon.
we had a whole lecture, you guys. There's a woman that we sat next to in Sedona
Yes.
at local juicery, and she went off about the fisheries.
She was not
and which
fucking
fish
around.
to eat, which fish not to eat. Just like it, I mean, she went off. And the biggest takeaway was like, don't eat tuna, don't eat farm salmon.
Yes.
Yeah.
We learned do not eat farm salmon. So even just saying salmon, I don't know. You know what I mean? It could, is it farmed? Is it wild caught? Like your higher self doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
So to get the most accurate answers, you have to be so specific. So eating, and I'll say it in statements versus asking a question because it's even more clear. Eating wild caught organic salmon for dinner tonight is going to get me to my health and fitness goals the quickest. Then you can get a clear yes or no. That's very specific. Once you form your question, I want you at home to practice something right now. So I want you to close your eyes and I want you to say to yourself, doing cocaine is good for me. Doing cocaine is good for me. Doing cocaine is good for me. It's going to be a no. So just heads up.
PSA.
PSA, it's going to be a no. I want you to feel in your body where that no feeling is.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get that, we'll test a yes. So drinking alkaline water is good for me. Drinking alkaline water is good for me. See where you feel that in your body. That's going to be your body's intuitive yes. Now, some people, depending on the relationship they have with their body, could be disconnected from their body. So I'm going to give you one other way if that doesn't work for right now. You just need to practice that for it to work. But if it doesn't work right now, pick like your top 3 favorite colors and pick your top 3 like colors that would be a no. Like to me, red's a no. I like to wear red, but if I see red, it's like a no to me.
Okay.
Yellow's a yes to me. Green's a yes to me. Pink's a yes to me. Red, yeah,
I'm
you're
a yes
big
right
yes.
now.
You're giving just resounding
Big
yes.
energy.
Catherine's giving big resounding yes energy in her pink outfit today, which I love, by the way. Like I definitely, is that Set Active?
Yes.
Love
course.
that.
Thank
Shout
you.
out to Set Active. They should sponsor you. Okay, so just if you hear that, anyone who works there. Okay, so pick like your 3 top favorite colors. Then like your no colors will be a no to you. Say the question, close your eyes, but then you're going to open your eyes and physically look around the room. Like it's not a color you see in your head. It's a color you see physically. Like if I look at your pink outfit, I'm going to get a yes. Like that's my yes.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll physically look and then whatever color you see first, like now I'm seeing Brennan's phone. It has a yellow cover over it. That's a yes. So, or whatever, whoever's phone is over there.
I think it's my old phone.
Your old phone.
Burner phone.
Yes. So it's a big yes energy. Everything about you is yes energy today. So then that would be your yes. So that's a really easy way to start. And you can literally take that today and start doing intuitive reads like right now with that on yourself.
Okay. So good. For the people who have a hard time discerning, and this is a question I ask every single person who teaches intuition, what's the difference between intuition and fear? Like, how do you know you're just being in a pattern of fear? And that's why you're being told not to do that thing or go that direction or take that flight versus your soul, your intuition, your intuitive abilities, whatever, heart, whatever you want to call it, saying, that's not a good idea.
Good question. So in order to even have your intuition be as good as you want it to be, you've got to gain emotional mastery, which is calming down your nervous system.
Oh,
a
so good.
lot of us think our intuition is our emotions. It is not at all. If you are even with something exciting that's happening, if you are any kind of emotional, you're emotionally manipulating your intuition big time. And our emotions are very strong. They can convince us very much that something is good or bad or don't get on the flight or this is going to be so life-changing. Then it turns out to not be or whatever it is. So my emotional breath pattern, not mine, sources, I channeled this from source and it's like, I just asked, I was like, what is a optimal breath pattern to calm down the nervous system? It's breathe in for 6, hold for 2, out the mouth for 8. And from source, I'm not a breathwork person, but like don't come after me. That's just what source said. Okay?
That's literally the pattern I do.
Is it?
When I do nervous system regulation, I stop making decisions from any sort of emotion because I used to be under the guise of like, if I'm feeling excited about it, that's a good sign. But actually, I've made a lot of wrong decisions from excitement because I'm taking other people's excitements. Other people are excited about an idea. I get excited because they're excited. And then I fucking resent the activity, the agreement, whatever it was. I'm like, why did I agree to do this? I want no part of it. I want nothing to do with it. Why did this happen?
Yes.
And so then I learned like, wait a second. emotions come from the subconscious mind. They're from the limbic brain. Your intuition's from the superconscious mind.
Yes.
And so in order for you to, they work very closely together. They're like a bridge to each other. You have to go through the subconscious to get the superconscious. This is my own personal channeling.
Yeah.
And if there's emotions or your nervous system is out of whack, you can't hear the superconscious. But the moment that you just settle yourself down, do emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, take a pause, like take some time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's human design that comes in here where some people need to like sleep on decisions.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I need to tune into my gut, but even that could take like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, and so in those 5 minutes, it's me calming my emotions down, and then I can clearly hear it because the superconscious has no access to emotions. Intuition's not an emotional response.
No.
And so it's very like direct, it's very neutral, it's very just like, and the thing is, and this is like the nuance, this is where nuance comes into everything, is you can have an emotion to the intuition.
Yes.
Like you cannot like the answer and then feel pissed about it.
Yes.
Or you could be confused by it and have an emotion, but you have to understand like which one came first, and did you tune in first by not having an emotion to it?
Literally, you explained that so well.
Thank you.
And here's an example of that. Like, if you feel like, oh my God, my partner's cheating on me, right?
Yeah.
Here's the difference. Like, you could have that emotion of like, oh my God, like I'm really anxious, my partner's cheating on me. Or you could be cooking fucking eggs and just get this neutral thing of like,
yeah,
my partner's cheating on me.
Yeah.
Then after, obviously you get pissed, but exactly like what came first?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yes. That was such
good.
a good explanation.
Okay, I think this is kind of where I want to start wrapping up around is, even though there's so many we can get into, but obviously you're going to come back, even though this is already a 2-parter. I feel like we could easily do a 4-parter, but I'm going to
be here for years.
I'm going to let my husband's cameras rest because he's been changing the batteries like crazy. Okay, everyone wants to know about energetic boob jobs. Because you talk about reverse aging, how aging is just a concept, how you can literally change your body by doing this work. And you've given yourself an energetic boob job. Your boobs are real, but they look fake. And I felt them. And I've had fake boobs. I know what they feel like. Yours are 100% real, but they look fake. And they look so good. They're like up, you know, they're just completely lifted up to the sky. You have amazing cleavage. How does one get an energetic boob job?
Okay, so
how did you even come up with this concept in the first place?
Okay.
Let's just start there.
Yes. So you know how everything's good and bad?
Yeah.
I had insanely low self-image issues. Here's the good that came out of that is going, can I energetically manipulate my body and my face and anything that I fucking want? But I wasn't allowed to do it until I shifted my self-image. That's why I think one time Andrea, she was like, you should just sell the energetic boob job. And I said, no, I can't do that. That only comes at the end of Glow Formula after you do the inner healing work first, or else it won't work. I'm not having my name on the fucking line of it not working.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
We're not doing that. So before we even go into this, in order for any kind of physical manipulation to work, you gotta love it before you change it. You have to genuinely love it before you change it.
How do you genuinely love it before you change it? Everyone's going to be asking that question.
Good question. So seeing why your soul chose it. So like I used to hate my nose, and because it's an Italian nose, to me it wasn't feminine, blah, blah, blah.
I have a Slavic nose, so I could totally relate.
Totally. Like I think you have the cutest nose, but
thank you. I think your nose is great.
Oh my gosh, we can hold hands later.
Wait, can we quickly just have an intermission to this thought and just express that like literally we saw each other walking across the street, meeting each other, and my thought was like, oh my God, she's so hot. Like, who is that girl? And like you're like, I love her outfit. Like, but we had like these thoughts about each other
before we even registered it was each other.
And then we registered with each other. It was the funniest thing in the world.
I was like, that's a boss bitch over there. It was like, and then I was like, then it registered that we were each other. And then we were like, oh my God.
Like, oh my God. Not that that changes anything, but yeah, it checks out.
Yes.
Okay. Italian nose.
Yes. Italian nose.
You now love.
I now love. I hated it. And I was like, what the fuck, man? And then I realized, well, I obviously am here to talk a lot, clearly. Like, here we are. And our nose, the way it's shaped, determines how our voice sounds. And the way my voice sounds and the way I express really helps me in being able to reach a group of people who maybe wouldn't be drawn to this stuff in the first place. And like the basic bitch kind of tone of voice that I have, like the Valley girl kind of like Alexis from Schitt's Creek kind of voice that I have going on, allows me to reach a group of people that will resonate with me, that can get access to this stuff, who would have never gone to the woo-woo crystal shop and found it that way.
Yep.
And so I got really grateful because your nose, how it's shaped, has a lot to do with the tone of your voice. And then that made me really grateful for it. And then I started going, wait, like, I don't look like everyone else. That's fucking hot. Who the fuck wants to look like the fucking filter on Instagram where everyone has the small little nose, the big fucking lips and the, you know, like everyone's going to start looking the fucking same. I want to be the person who looks different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I started to fall in love with it that way. And then there's basic things of like also, well, I can breathe through my fucking nose, you know? If you like hate your legs and you think they're fat or whatever, well, you can walk. You can fucking run. Like you got to start where you can actually get behind. You know, you can't lie to yourself. You got to start where you can actually emotionally get behind. So start small, start really small. And I used to not let myself leave the mirror until I was at some angle that I liked. I could have been in the most weirdest contortion ever, or I could have just been having my hand out looking at my pinky fucking finger. I wouldn't let myself leave the mirror until I had some kind of picture that I liked, and then I would look away and leave. And that's how I started healing my self-image. So anyway, me having a low self-image in the past got me thinking, can I manipulate the body? And I can, and you can, but you have to do it from a place of being fully in love with it first. And so when I got to that place, I was like, this could be fun because implants are really bad for you. You can get breast implant illness, all these things. Injections and filler, don't even get me fucking started on the fucking disease and chronic illness that's going to cause you in 10 years. Like, don't even go get me down that road. And I'm like, but I want to be able to enhance the way that I look or whoever looks through energy work. And so I started going down this rabbit hole, and it turns out you can. And so you need energetic ingredients mixed with energy work, like guiding light from source to the cells. So what I did with you and Ashley was like the energy work portion at the retreat.
Yeah.
But then there's also an emotional component. Now, this is where it's different between soul contract and manifesting. So I didn't have a soul contract to have the boobs that I have.
Yeah.
They were small. I was like a dancer, grew up gymnast vibes. But you can manifest them. You can create them. Now, people who just naturally had a soul contract to have maybe bigger boobs or whatever boobs, it doesn't mean that they have these emotional ingredients. It just means that that's how they chose to be. That's their soul contract.
Yeah.
But you can create them if you don't have it. And it's by how you do that is by connecting to emotional ingredients of how you would need the emotions that you need to have that thing. It's like baking a cake. You need all the right ingredients to have the cake turn out good and perfect. You need all the right emotional ingredients to create something that's not in your soul contract, that's coming out of nowhere. And that's for any kind of manifestation that's not in your soul contract. So I was like, I wonder what ingredients you'd need for big boobs. And I won't give them all away, but I'll give away like one or two. One of them is you need to feel like nourished in life. You need to feel nourished. Like you yourself, you need to feel.
Because boobs are literally nourishment.
Exactly.
We were talking about this at dinner and I was like, this makes so much sense.
Yes.
You're like, how much do I have to give to the world? And I was like, this makes sense because you're giving milk through boobs. I mean, typically that's what you're
nourishing
for.
Life.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Think of the function of the body part and then it probably has to do something with that.
Ooh, so good.
Yes. And then the other one is you need to feel like you bring like life. You bring a special and unique energy. You bring life, literally life to people. You bring a unique energy to the world. Like you can create something special in the world. You have to be emotionally connected to that. There's about like 8 other ingredients. And I'm not telling you because I don't want to not tell you. It's just, it won't work unless you do the self-image healing first. That's why you get it after you go through Glow Formula.
That makes so much sense. Okay. So what is like the root cause of like weight gain, for example?
Yeah. The emotional root cause of weight gain could be a few things. It is either beating yourself up, and how you can start to love that happened is your body is literally protecting itself from you. Your body is gaining weight instead of your words about yourself hitting your fucking liver and causing a bigger problem. Yeah. So instead of getting mad at the extra fat, like fucking thank it because it's literally protecting you from having a fucking liver disease instead. Like it's way easier to deal, not that it's easy, but it's easier to deal with extra fat than it is the fucking liver disease. Yeah. So your body's just needing to protect you because you're beating yourself up constantly. And here's what happens. Where something manifests is not the root cause. So It doesn't even mean you have to be beating yourself up about your body. You could be beating yourself up about the financial decisions you're making, or the relationships you're in, or the career you're in, or whatever,
Right.
or what you're saying, or how you perceive yourself internally. And that will even cause weight gain on the body. Or you don't feel safe in life. You don't feel safe. You feel like you have to protect yourself.
Sense. It's a protective mechanism.
It's a protective mechanism.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What about like, is energetic like Botox very similar? Because your forehead, like I know you don't have Botox,
Nope,
but like
never.
you have not a single wrinkle.
You know why?
And I can tell like your forehead is moving, so I know you don't have actual Botox. But at the same time, I can see like a lot of control in your forehead where it doesn't wrinkle up.
Yes, Catherine, I gave myself energetic Botox. I'm so glad you've noticed.
Like I like your forehead's lifted, your eyebrows are lifted.
Mm-hmm.
So is that the same thing with energetic boobs?
A little bit. So aging, there's only 7% part of us that's supposed to actually age once we hit like full grown adult. The reason why we age is because of reflections. So you know how people, they get to 6 years old now, they can't hear. It's not because they're aging. It's because they're not listening to their fucking intuition for that long. You know, if you don't listen to it for 20 years, okay, 30 years, okay, 40 years, well, now it's manifested into your body. Every physical thing in this world started out as a thought. This microphone, someone had to think about it, design it, send it to a manufacturer. They had to create it. Now it's here. Same thing with our body. Any physical thing that's going on starts out as an emotional thought, an emotional root cause. Even if like, you know how you hear running water and then you have to pee?
Yeah.
It's like we have this thing of like our body is so connected to the physical world. And it instantly responds to our thoughts. Like you hear the water, now all of a sudden you have to pee. Or I
like
can
biting a lemon.
Biting a lemon.
Start salivating or like thinking about lunch or whatever.
Yes. I can describe the best dessert to you and then you'd start like craving
the mind can't tell the difference between real or imagined.
Exactly. So the body instantly responds to our thoughts. So everywhere on your face where you could have wrinkles, that is an emotional root cause. So wrinkles are like worry, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If they're on your forehead, it's worry about how other people are perceiving you. I've done so much self-image fucking healing that I don't care.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't have them. Now I have a little smile line going on. That's because on my left side, it's because I got to figure out what it was because I channeled it before. It's because I was worried about how people were receiving what I was saying. Because I can be really like direct and upfront and like not fucking care, you know, if I trigger people. And so I got worried about it. I got worried about it and I still have it. And it's like, I'm still working on clearing it, but I can clear it. But forehead's clear because I'm not worried about how people are perceiving me.
Yes.
I'm worried about how people are perceiving what I'm saying to them. Right. So you can clear or worry around your eyes, worried about the future or worried about what you're seeing in front of you. It depends. When you have intuition, you can channel and go in and see what all these things mean. And you shift the emotion and then you end up shifting literally how you physically look.
Speaking about not worrying about how people perceive you, something that I appreciate so much about you is like you're literally the same person no matter who you're in front of. No matter what the situation is, you're just so authentically and radically you. And it's so inspiring.
Thank you.
So now I know why you have no wrinkles. Like it's very evident that that's where it comes from.
Thank you. And I was the complete opposite of that. You know what I mean? So so thank you. And anyone can shift that. You know, and I think the world has to be in balance. If you're experiencing deep self-image stuff, it's only a matter of time with the right tools so you can experience the complete opposite. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if you're down in the fucking trash can, dumps, toilet, like heads in the toilet, I get it. I've been there.
Who hasn't?
Who hasn't? We're gonna need to grab your head and pull it out, and you can also experience the opposite of that massively.
Allie, we can literally talk for 27 years straight. I texted Ashley after we left the restaurant. I was like, Allie and I just spent 3 hours at True Food. And she's like, I'm surprised it wasn't 4. And I was like, me too. But I have a baby at home. So I needed to like tend to the baby.
100%.
Otherwise, we would have gone on. And like the waiter was even like, can you just sign like my thing?
Yeah,
so
like,
I'll leave you alone. But just like, can you guys just check out? So I don't have to like keep asking you guys.
Yeah, he's like I'm done coming over to this table. There's weird shit going on over here.
I felt like we were just in an energetic vortex. So, oh my gosh, so high frequency.
Yes.
We had a bubble around us.
Yes.
Have you noticed that no one sat next to us? Like the restaurant was full, but the table to their left and our right was empty.
Yes. Yeah. No one sat next. We put a shield on ourselves for sure.
Yeah.
Because, we talk about a lot of shit and I'm like, okay, well, we can't have these other beings hearing this because we're not getting like attacked tonight.
No. Oh my God. Okay. Allie, where can people go to connect with you more, to learn more about you, to work with you? Where can they find your programs, your courses? I know we talked about Dark Forces Mastery. What is it called?
Fuck Dark Forces.
Fuck Dark Forces. And then you have a whole intuition boot camp. Like you have level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. You have like a pre-class intuitive as fuck. So you have a lot of options on your website. Like where can people find you and work with you?
Yes. So Instagram is just Allie Ninfo, ALLIE.
Alien Info.
I know it. Literally, people think like, oh my God, Alien Info, that's a genius name. And I'm like, it's just my name.
I'm going to link it in the show notes.
Yes, we'll link in the show notes. TikTok, Allie_Ninfo, same thing. Website, allieninfo.com. We have the Fuck Dark Forces course for sure. We have like the Unfuck Yourself Academy. We have intuition courses. We have right now we have open the Unfucked Intensive, which is like a 3-day intensive, which is like the prereq to Unfuck Yourself Academy. Just go to the website. It's all there.
Go on the website. I'm going to link it. And then you guys do yourself a favor and go watch Allie's videos on TikTok. They're the most entertaining, the most animated videos on like manifestation that you'll ever see in your life. She does dances. She gets really into it. She just goes like hard, like her words just animate through her body. It's hysterical. And if you want like a teacher that entertains you at the same time that they're teaching you something, it's Allie on her TikTok.
Oh my God, thank you. It's like I get so passionate, it just comes out of me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my God, thank you. You're such a pure like light and soul in the world. I could cry like thinking about it.
Aww,
seriously.
I
like
love you so much.
I love you. Thank you for being you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Manifestation Babe podcast. If you loved what you heard today, it would mean the world to me if you took a moment to rate, review, and share this podcast with someone that you think would benefit too. Sharing the podcast is the best way to help it grow and create a powerful community to join you on your manifestation journey. In the meantime, come hang out with me on Instagram at my handle @manifestationbabe, or sign up for one of my next manifestation courses or offerings at manifestationbabe.com.